My friends and I were walking through the woods. Suddenly, the wind and snow blasted us. We were not prepared and didn't know a blizzard was coming. We stumbled onto this cabin in the heart of nowhere, surrounded by towering trees draped in a thick layer of snow. The place looked like it had been forgotten by time, with its sagging roof and dead silence. We were freezing, so we decided to make ourselves at home, not realizing that this cabin had its own twisted story to tell. We fired up this rusty electric heater that we found inside. It wheezed and sputtered like it was on its last breath. Wrapping ourselves in whatever blankets we could find, we huddled in the living room, trying to coax warmth into our shivering bodies with mugs of lukewarm instant coffee and body heat. The wind outside roared like some vengeful spirit, causing the windows to rattle in their frames. It was like the world outside was angry that we had dared to disturb its slumber. But we dismissed the ominous feeling and focused on the warmth we desperately sought. As the night progressed, the cabin began to reveal its secrets. Creaks and groans echoed through the wooden walls, and the flickering lights added an unsettling dance of shadows to the mix. The cabin had this bizarre lighting setup, dim overhead lights mingling with bulbs that blinked erratically, casting eerie glows that played tricks on our eyes. Sleep eluded us. The subtle shuffling sound started innocently enough, like the distant footsteps of some unseen presence. We'd hold our breath, listening for the source, only to be met with silence. It felt like the cabin itself was alive, whispering secrets that danced just beyond our understanding. The atmosphere inside that cabin turned grim. The shuffling escalated into purposeful movement, as if unseen inhabitants roamed the hidden corners. Whispers, too faint to decipher, drifted through the air, carried by the wind that seemed to speak a language only the mountains understood. The storm outside continued its relentless assault, rattling the cabin like an angry beast. As if possessed by some twisted force, the cabin ramped up its bizarre behavior. We awoke in the middle of the night to find our belongings suspended mid-air, tied up with rope. Chairs moved into a circle, and the flickering lights pulsed in rhythm. It was a night of absolute chaos, a surreal spectacle that left us questioning our sanity. The storm outside intensified, unleashing its fury upon the landscape. The walls seemed to close in on us, and the unsettling feeling grew with each passing moment. And then came the events that shattered any semblance of normalcy. I awoke to a sound, soft rustling, like someone going through our belongings. Panic gripped me as I scanned the room, and there at the foot of my bed stood a figure, a real person. Fear rooted me to the spot as I observed the intruder, their silhouette stark against the flickering lights. I squinted, half expecting the figure to dissolve into the shadows, but it remained, watching us with an unsettling calm. A twisted smile played on their lips, sending shivers down my spine, and for a moment the world felt like it had frozen in a nightmare. I nudged my friend urgently, whispering hoarsely, "Get up, get up." The figure turned its gaze towards us, the twisted smile widening. Then it let out the most eerie laugh. We all erupted into chaos, shouting and stumbling out of our beds. As we gave chase, flashlights cutting through the darkness, the figure retreated into the shadows, leaving us in an eerie silence. We heard the thud of a door closing. The search revealed no trace of the intruder. We could not find the entrance they used to enter the room. It was just us, the cabin, and the relentless storm outside. We gathered our belongings in a frenzied mess and fled that forsaken place. We didn't look back until we were miles away, the cabin a distant memory against the unforgiving white landscape. To this day, the mystery lingers. Who was that figure, and what twisted tale did that desolate cabin hold? It remains an unsettling chapter in our lives, a night when reality blurred with the surreal, and the line between fear and freezing temperatures became impossibly thin. The cabin we rented was cute, with wooden walls and a fireplace that looked like it had seen better days. It was the kind of place you see in those holiday movies where everything is perfect and folks are laughing around the fire. The air was so dang cold it bit right through my jacket as soon as I stepped out of the car to walk to the cabin. Snow was falling like crazy, and the world had turned into a white abyss. We were up in the mountains for a family vacation, thinking it would be hot cocoa and cozy nights by the fireplace. The blizzard hit hard and we were stuck inside that cabin. The snow piled up outside and the wind howled like a pack of wolves. We tried to keep our spirits up, played board games, told stories, but the tension was thick. You could feel it hanging in the air, making everyone a bit jumpy. There was a rumble so deep it shook the whole cabin. We rushed to the window and there it was, an avalanche, a wall of snow crashing down the mountainside. It was like a white monster devouring everything in its path. I felt my stomach drop as the cabin trembled under the force of it. The next thing we knew, the world went dark. The power cut out and we were left in pitch black. Panic set in and we fumbled for flashlights and candles. The air got heavy and we could hear the muffled roar of the snow outside. We were buried alive, trapped in our little wooden coffin. The hours blurred together. We rationed what little food we had and melted snow for water. The cabin felt smaller, the walls closing in on us. But it wasn't just the claustrophobia that got to us. It was the whispers. At first, we thought it was just the wind playing tricks on our minds, but these whispers were different, sinister. We'd hear them in the dead of night, when the cabin creaked and groaned under the weight of the snow. It was like voices carried on the wind, saying things we couldn't quite make out. My sister started to lose it first. She'd stare into the darkness, wide-eyed, convinced she saw shadows moving. We'd try to reassure her, tell her it was just the imagination playing tricks, but deep down, we were all scared. The darkness outside pressed against the windows like a living thing. Then came the touches, cold fingers brushing against our skin when no one was around. We'd jump, look at each other, but nobody fessed up to it. The cabin became a breeding ground for paranoia, suspicion hanging heavy in the air. It felt like we were being watched, judged by unseen eyes in the darkness. Sleep was a luxury none of us could afford. Every creak, every sound sent shivers down our spines. The wind howled like a chorus of lost souls, and the whispers grew louder. We couldn't escape them, couldn't shut them out. They seeped into our dreams, twisted and distorted them into nightmares. Day turned into a never-ending night. We huddled together for warmth, our breath visible in the cold air. The walls of the cabin seemed to close in on us, the darkness swallowing everything. We didn't know if we'd ever see daylight again. And then, just when we thought we couldn't take it anymore, we heard something different. A distant sound like engines roaring through the silence. We strained our ears, hardly daring to believe it was real. The rescue team had found us. The relief was overwhelming as they dug through the snow. We stumbled out of that cabin, blinking against the brightness. The whispers faded away, the touches disappeared, and the darkness retreated. We were rescued, but the memories of that time lingered. The cabin stood there, a silent witness to our ordeal. As we looked back, we couldn't shake the feeling that something beyond the storm had invaded our sanctuary and sanity. The blizzard had buried more than just snow. It buried our sense of safety, leaving us with the haunting echoes of a nightmare in the mountains. In the heart of the mountainous expanse, where snow-laden trees stood sentinel against the elements, I found myself ensnared in the clutches of an unforeseen snowstorm. What was anticipated to be a serene weekend of hunting swiftly morphed into a harrowing tale of survival, with a biting cold and an unforgiving blizzard as my unwelcome companions. As the day's light dwindled and ominous storm clouds loomed overhead, my chances of navigating my way back to the safety of my cabin dwindled with it. Exhausted and disoriented after a fruitless day of hunting, I realized that I had ventured far beyond the boundaries of familiarity. The relentless snowfall obscured any discernible landmarks, leaving me with no choice but to seek refuge elsewhere. During the tempest, a stroke of luck guided me towards a modest log cabin nestled amidst a protective circle of trees. Despite the absence of any flickering lights within, desperation impelled me to approach and knock on the door. I rapped my frozen knuckles against the sturdy wood. No answer. As I was getting ready to knock again, the sound of footsteps on the other side signaled a glimmer of salvation. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior illuminated by the gentle glow of 2 candles. The room's contours were hazy, and all that greeted me was the silhouette of a man, my savior, or so I thought. In gratitude, I thanked him for providing refuge, but my expressions of appreciation fell into the void of an eerie silence. Dismissing the strange encounter, I settled onto the couch, my weary body yearning for rest. Yet the shadows cast by the flickering candles danced eerily around the room, creating an atmosphere of profound uncertainty. Closing my eyes in an attempt to embrace the relief of sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease, a subtle awareness that something was off. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, and the absence of any footsteps walking away sounds heightened my curiosity. Opening my eyes, I was met with the disconcerting sight of the silhouette persisting in its place, unmoved. A feeble attempt to communicate my intention to rest was met with silence, intensifying the peculiar tension that hung in the air. Turning away, I sought comfort in darkness, hoping to escape the unseen gaze. However, the persistent urge to observe the whereabouts of my mysterious host forced me to confront the mystery once more. To my dismay, the silhouette had advanced, now ominously closer, revealing a face obscured by the pale glow of the candles. The hairs on my neck stood on end, and an instinctive sense of dread propelled me to gather my belongings hastily. With gratitude mixed with panic, I mumbled my thanks and retreated into the blizzard, eager to distance myself from the unsettling encounter. As I navigated the snowy terrain, fate led me to another cabin nestled downhill, its warm lights a beacon of welcome in the frigid darkness. Knocking on the door, I was greeted by an elderly couple, their eyes reflecting genuine warmth and hospitality. Recounting my eerie experience, their expressions transformed from hospitality to disbelief. The woman with a furrowed brow confirmed that the cabin I spoke of had remained vacant for the past 2 years, its owner murdered, a haunting revelation that sent shivers down my spine. The reality of my encounter unfolded before me, leaving me to grapple with the unsettling knowledge that the cabin's mysterious host may have been a specter from the tragic pages of its past.